So
Oh,
Fast-tsunami has white
nice.
for the first game. Start with knight f3, knight c3, e3. Now he's pushing the g pawn. I need to get this stuff working. There were some technical problems to start out.
What's the problem?
Chat says go Vlad. So if Tsunami wins this match, he is the world champion, and if Vlad wins this match, there is a second round of matches between them because this is double elimination.
Yeah, so basically Vlad's in the loser bracket, and then if he wins against Fast-tsunami, then they both lost one match, and then Vlad has to win another time.
Yup.
I always I also changed that with the Racing Kings World Championship because it's with the World Championship you basically want to say, especially for streaming purpose, like this is the final match, and now you're like, is this the final match or is this not the final match?
Yeah, it could very well be the final match.
Yeah,
I
or
see
not.
Yako's in the spectator chat.
Ooh, hi to Jacob.
So I always want to put my rook on the g file in these positions like this. But then like it seems like if g takes h4 or some weird stuff in there and the queen gets an h4 and suddenly I made it. But I feel like there's a way to put the rook on the g file and be safe.
Yeah, I actually think the same. But
Basically.
if I actually would have Fasti, I would have put the rook on the g file a bit earlier. Because if you do it now, he'll just start moving. Like you're not ultimately well placed, and then you basically have to take and you lose your bishop as well. So
Right.
you would have to prepare it a bit, and you're not prepared at all right now. Like what you could do would be rook g1, if g4, then bishop h3, but then you still have g3. So for that
Right.
reason, because he's not prepared, he goes for the knight to block with g7.
Despite the knight being on e8 and being really annoying in black's position, black actually has a surprising amount of play on the queen side.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the knight cannot do that much either. Like it's annoying, but it's still a solo job.
Yeah. That Fasty puts a knight on the like e8, f8, whatever. It's really annoying because he'll just leave it there knowing that it'll cut off your rooks from each other if it makes it to the end game.
True, but I mean, if you look at it, like black has a space advantage, like a really good space advantage. Like I slightly prefer black mate probably, but it also depends on how annoying the knight is. But
Mm-hmm.
like what could be annoying is also that, for example, the knight goes to d7, all with checks, all with tempo, and then blocks the bishop. Because like indeed, like I was thinking about c4 and then it got pretty active. But if the knight can block off that bishop, then it's annoying again.
So like knight f6, knight d7 check.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Just go with knight c7. I guess knight c7 blocks off queen b6 ideas. That could
True, true,
potentially
but
be really bad.
yeah, but yeah. The downside of that plan was though that the rook on the g file is free, but it also is free right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really change. And I actually see G3 right now being very strong. Like, go G3, you will already win material. The only thing is that Black's king is kind of awkward. But,
Yeah, I don't think white can punish black's king in that awkward position though because the pawn at h5.
yeah. I mean, Black doesn't go for G3, which is fine. I mean, you can actually prepare it. Like, you can go slow. Like, it would probably be fine, but you can also not take any gambles and go for the slow way.
Yeah. Oh,
Also,
there's
this
knight
is
e8 again.
also
Knight
this is really
e8,
strong.
knight f6.
Yeah, but G3 is really strong, I think, for black. It's, okay, you traded itself. It's, you're forced to do that as white, actually. Like
Yeah.
G3, it would win on the spot because you get F2 in.
Yeah, G3 F2 would be brutal. That's the kind of thing that's most annoying about Atomic, is those weird pawn pushes actually work.
Yeah, like pawns are really strong in Atomic.
Now I think White's defended against it though with the bishop on G5. That pretty much cuts everything off.
I think so too, though. I think so too. Actually, I was also thinking about, instead of Queen E7, about Queen C8. Because right now you have also knight E6 as a possible way to block the queen. Oh, that goes for something else. It goes for like a double attack maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But we're both in time trouble, so it will be fun because the position is still interesting. Like White has managed to fend all attacks off. I do feel Black was
It
better
is.
before, but time trouble. I mean, it can't go either way really.
So Fast is going for knight F6 check, win the queen fork ideas.
Yes, yes. And if you take, you have Queen G5 check, which wins, which is mate.
Yup.
So we have to do this, but now like the king is really open.
So he still
Uh,
has queen E5 check that could be annoying. Just try to trade off that rook
and
and
castling.
castle.
And now white looks pretty good actually, pretty solid. Oh wait, you have the knight on d3. Knight d3 as planned. Yeah, you have to prevent that, but it still looks
Oh,
good.
that
You
bishop
have
check
two
was
rooks.
sneaky.
Yeah, but you had the material. Like white has a material advantage, and it was fine in the position. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
Classic Fast. He sets up long before and then suddenly you're mated.
yeah. Like the only thing he did the whole game was defending, and then boom.
And then poor Vlad's attack ran out. Now Vlad is going with knight h3 e4, which is arguably the strongest line in Atomic, with maybe the
Sure.
exception knight f3, knight c3.
I mean, perhaps it's very topical. I would say at least. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to say it's strong or not strong. Like, I mean, you could categorize it by winning or not winning, maybe, but it's very topical. Like right now, this line and also two knights are just really popular, and
Yep.
and in my theory, actually, it comes just because of the engine evaluation. Maybe
Yeah.
some people disagree because they think theory has advanced, but I've had a hiatus for a year and don't see any change, but maybe that's just me. But I really feel like the ancient evaluation changed, and that's therefore the opening change. Because I noticed that there was also a time that e3 knight f3 was the first opening of Stockfish, and then everyone played
Oh
that.
yeah. That's actually still like a very strong line, although people just go for like the higher evaluations.
Yeah, but like I would say it's equally strong as two knights or this. It's just different. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
like comparing those, but it's just topical. I would say that at
Yeah.
least.
So there's this weird line in knight h3 e4 where you put the bishop on either e2 or sometimes g2 and castle and just have this really strong fortress on the kin side, and you basically just try to abuse the white advantage in Atomic from there.
Yeah, it's very positional. Like you just have space advantage, and in the end, there will come a time you just lose material.
Mm-hmm.
You develop and lose material, or you lose by position and still lose material. um,
So the
yeah,
bishop g4 check followed by c3 is actually quite nice because he's not just going for the greedy up a pawn. He's trying to grind out more of a positional advantage with it.
yeah, but even now, like White's just going for material, which is fine. But like it's semi-positional. Like you could of course also take an immunity on the rook, but if you do this, if Black refuses to take, then you have a positional advantage. So that's the funny part. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also a strong way to play it because if you just immediately go for material, rush it, then you get bishop b7 and your king will get attack or something. Like, but
Is there some weird knight g4 idea here?
a real knight g4 idea.
So if knight g4, you might have bishop e7 and forcing rook f7.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's certainly an idea, for sure. But also because of that, like white will certainly guess alongside.
Mm-hmm.
It will be less strong, but it's still an idea. I mean, in the end, you have to open up or go for it if you know.
So I
But
don't know,
you're
it's like
still,
knight b6 here.
yeah,
Just
knight
try to
c6.
save the knight.
Yeah, I mean, it would also be better, I think, than knight g4 because you still don't have developed a lot of pieces. So
Mm-hmm.
develop them first before you go into the shenanigan part, you know?
Yeah. Being aggressive too soon would just probably lose on the spot against Vlad.
Yes. And also because you're battling on the wrong side. You're battling on the king's side, and the king is on the queen's side.
Yup.
But this position right now looks, I mean, really good for white. Like, it's not winning per se, but it's just like a useful advantage, I would say.
So knight e5 is going for knight c4, but if b3, do you have queen e7? Although that will just be met with d6, I suppose.
Yeah, you cannot do that yet. I mean, at one point you actually like to sack the knight and then maybe open up the b file, but the bishop is in the way. So it's fairly annoying. It actually stops your whole initiative here, and for that reason, black has to go for the other way. And now it just tries to trade queens, which is usually fine. Like in these positions, material is equal, but when the queens
Yeah.
are off, it's like the position advantage will be harder to create an attack without the queen. But it's
Another
still
thing
good
that's
though.
interesting is black's king is further away from the pawns than white's king for the final pawn imbalance, which could be something you'd have to worry about in the end game.
True, true. I mean, even right now, you could try king e2, unless Fast decide to go e3. Yeah, okay, e3 is a good move because now you're forced to block it with rook.
Yeah.
So
He's gonna try to go for rook e5 and then try to get a rook and a bishop, then push d7. Although rook e8 before that is just gonna result in a rook trade if he does that.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Can Fasty just sack a rook on b3 and then open up the b file and get the rook through and get a draw?
I mean, for these are the challenges you're really looking for. Like, black has definite drawing chances for you because I do see like a rook coming in, anyways. Just keep it slow, but a rook will come in anyways. Because if you trade one rook for the other will come in.
Mm-hmm.
And your knight cannot block it because the knight has no good squares. You cannot go, even if he goes to b4, you just get taken.
Yeah.
And even other squares will just get taken, but that even takes way too long. So I think right now it's just a draw, honestly. Trade rooks as black and now get the other rook in. Yeah.
There's not some weird king d2 idea, is there?
No, because then rook e3 is annoying, I think. I mean, you could go back, of course, but... Well, then you still have a draw, though. Good by repetition. But yeah, now he tries to run, which is a good idea. Go to the safe side. There's only way to avoid the draw. Like, if you really want to go for the draw, you could also have done c4 and say I have enough squares, but then the bishop will come in at some point, and you might actually lose as white. So it wasn't actually a full draw.
So if white just takes the black's rook here, is that not a win?
No, I don't think so. Or like, oh yeah, I think it's a white win. Yeah. If that happens, because you're just pawn extra, and you cannot monetize or so. So
Is the rook b3, rook b8 repetition?
I think why not rook g1?
If rook g1, you promote and then you just force the rook trade, and then it is an easy draw.
No, but then you can keep checking, and the other knight can go for the mate, maybe. Like,
I guess
that
so.
would be a possible idea. Not sure if it worked, but these kind of shenanigans are what you're looking for, because otherwise black will get a rook in and it's a draw,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Does
actually
knight
happening
e5
right
defend
now.
against this?
Ooh, nice move. Nice move. I think temporary.
It just adds
I
another
mean,
move to the
now you have
sequence.
to go back knight f3 and then you just repeat. Go bishop g4. I mean, black plays for the draw here. So
Yeah.
bishop g4 is not bad at all. You just go for repetition. Yeah, now white has to probably take the bishop and go for the draw. Okay, goes for the win. Tries to go for the win, but I think that's maybe that's possibly suicide.
You can't even go rook g1 because bishop g2 and then you're gonna get mated.
Yeah, yeah. This was not safe at all.
Oh, scam.
Yes. So indeed, like I predicted, you should have just taken the bishop and then it would be a draw. Because you
Yeah.
have your 2-2 square.
He just don't have the room necessary to avoid the checkmate with the rook and pawn. Now Fast is
Yeah,
going with knight f3 e3. Everyone's favorite opening.
haha, yeah. But actually, from these two games, it's quite funny. Like both games, flat was stronger in my opinion. But every time, like Fast gets at least an equal position and then a winning position. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool to see.
Fasty spent like half a minute wondering how he's gonna go into this.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, normally I would do that before the match. Like you have yeah, so you just think about it, have some ideas like what the hell would you do against this player? Like okay, let's go for that. But now we just maybe he was busy brushing his teeth.
Who
You know,
knows?
you don't know.
I feel like the most classic Fasty thing is to spend like half a minute on like the third move, just wondering which random opening he's gonna scam you with. Is he gonna go for the crazy rook attack?
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I do think, like, strategically speaking, like, going for knight e4, like the usual way, would be better because it poses less risk for white. And especially when you're up, you don't need to risk anything.
Yeah.
So just play it cool and you'll probably win.
To be
But
honest, this
that's
actually might be safer because I think that the knight f3, f6, e3, e6, and then I think knight c3 was the main refutation of that back when Fast-tsunami played like 10 years ago. So he probably is more experienced in this line than Vlad.
like that. So he played this more than the other one. That's possible. Yeah.
He plays this weird defense against e3 that used to be main line, and it's actually super annoying if you aren't like really heavily booked up on it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's more of an how should I say it? It's more of a positional line where you just as black has space advantage, but your pieces are a bit awkward usually.
Yeah.
So usually white gets a knight in, but black has space advantage. That's what you're playing for, and
Yep.
it can always go both ways. And usually black don't get a chance to castle.
I like
Usually,
how
not
patient
always, but
Fasty has been, not just taking on a7 immediately. That's like
uh,
very common mistake people make in knight f3 e3 lines. They try to do the material grab without developing first. But if you develop first before you do the material grab, it's way more oppressive.
I mean to be fair, like if you were to look a couple of years back, you probably maybe Fast would have taken on a7, but right now most players just keep the knight. And right now, actually, what Fast does is both. Like most players would maybe go knight c7, go for the positional way instead of the taking way, but now Fast allows for both. So it just says I'll wait and
Mm-hmm.
I can take or not take, but probably I will not take. That's basically what he's saying.
He's gonna put the knight on e8 and be annoying again.
That would be such a troll.
Just repeat the same strategy because it works.
Yeah. Like I can beat you anytime with 98. Yeah. Only right now you don't need to block a rook.
Yeah.
But this position just looks fine. Yeah, fine for white. Like black really in these positions really needs to use space advantage. Like what you usually see is that he tries to go e4 d4 and then he'll be annoying, which black indeed does. And I actually know like especially a player like Grant Lappin is really strong in these positions.
Mm-hmm.
I think also way stronger than any player maybe.
Grand Lapin, like, he has these positions where he's just the strongest player in them. And that's pretty impressive, but also, unfortunately, people can theoretically avoid the position he's strongest in. But like,
Yeah,
when people
true.
play into those positions, it's just insanely impressive how good he is.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
bishop g7, is there a way to stop bishop g7? I guess you could do like rook h7, but rook h7, and you just take on g6, and you have good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a bit slow, but yeah, maybe. But like, if you do that though, like you could maybe white would probably go rook takes g6, which gets pawn, but also opens up possibly for the queen. Cannot go immediately there, although you could,
Mm-hmm.
which trades stuff, but you just keep it open. And I don't know if black wants to go into that endgame. I mean, it's drawable maybe, but it's also not that comfortable.
So there's no c. I guess queen b1 is setting up for queen a2 check.
It's really strong. It's really a good move. You just want to get another piece in, and this is the way to do it.
Just f3 and white's safe. That's a one move
Yeah,
threat.
white is fine, and black needs to find the defense unit. He has more time, so. But yeah, black.
Is there a defense? Because the knight on c7 covers both d5 and e6.
Oh, true. Maybe you probably have the second piece, and I only see a way which checks a piece, which you probably don't want. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, yeah, I only see queen d5, but even that loses. You could go queen b2, yeah, and then
Queen b2
go
just
to
win
the
one
dark
spot.
squares. Yeah, so and resigned. Yeah. And if you would have done rook a7, then you could have played king e8. Maybe you were right all along.
Like, it
Okay.
just was so screwed for white or black that entire time.
Yeah, that's
before.
yeah. So that was the like black used the space advantage, but didn't come true, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing. Like with that space advantage, you usually don't like. Sometimes you want to make the queen pawn run, but other times you just want to restrict pieces, and I didn't do both of them, which
Yep.
was pretty bad. Um,
So
okay.
usually in positions like these, black is gonna try to get like a bishop e7 idea in sometimes. That's, you keep that as a threat. But here, it's kind of blown open at the middle kin side with F and E files particularly. And I feel like white should be able to cook something up here. Although white is also limited by the lack of development with the d-pawn limiting the dark square threats.
Mm-hmm.
The good task is what kind of opening nonsense is this? It's a really weird opening because this is not close to main line at all.
No, usually people don't go for e4 and such also. Yeah, it's a classical 94 thing, but usually people don't go for e4 because what you get then is that black can push a pawn and also attacks the knight, which he did with f5, but sometimes you can also do it with d5.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Wolfram
is
says this is the Russian attack fasty counter attack variation. Is there some weird like bishop c5 and bishop b7 ideas setting the bishops up aimed at the kin side?
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, bishop c5 does lose the bishop, so you cannot do it immediately. But
Yeah.
I mean, what you could try to do is like go bishop b7, and after that go for something like d5 and just go take the center or something.
Yeah, that is an option. Fasty's trying to just castle here and then go from there, I guess.
Probably,
Even
probably.
if you castle, though, you can't castle here because queen takes h5, blows up your bishop, and the rook comes down the h file and mates you.
Yes, yes, indeed. Well, I mean, you can also blow up the f pawn with the tempo, and then you can give check on the e file. So it's not 100% clear, but it's really, really, really risky. You should calculate it to the end if you decide to castle.
Yeah, because you castle if someone's getting made and it's a coin toss.
Yeah, one person got made it. That's the only thing that you're sure at. Okay, goes for d5, which is just a positional move. Just getting the center. And also the bishop could go in, so now white trades the knight.
With the bishop on h2, I think black can safely castle now. I suddenly know if black castles, there's only one knight to develop on the queen side before all the heavy pieces are lined up, whereas white has a rather undeveloped queen side.
I actually don't know if you can castle safely. But I actually don't know. Because the bishop will be annoying, and there are also other ideas.
Yeah, I guess the bishop could come in with bishop e6 check and then open up everything like the queen h5 sack again.
Yeah, you also have f4 and such. Like, you will not immediately sack on h5, but it's awkward. It's very awkward. But this is also awkward, though.
It's kind of choose your poison.
For sure, but then you usually take the place where you have more space.
And now if you lose the b pawn, queen a6 is a thing.
True, true.
And you're gonna just get mated right away there.
Black is really in a bind, and I mean, like with these positions, like long term, black is usually better because he has the center, but white just has activity, and right now it just seems like the activity is really strong because that's what you mentioned.
It's actually quite incredible how strong white's position is without having developed the d pawn.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting right now.
So queen h2 is setting you up for f5, and then you have the dark square diagonal that's
yes,
possibly...
and it prevents the king from queen h4. Double idea. It's defensive and attacking at the same time.
So Fasty forced the queen trade, and that's probably as good of a thing he could do in this position. But that means it limits his scam opportunities in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. White's just as a solid advantage. Like, now even a piece advantage. This
just rookie 1, rookie 8.
I mean, anything works. Honestly. I mean, what he's doing right now also works. Like, there's no risk to this. Really.
Yeah. You're like just playing solid moves instead of just going for the cheat mate right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's 3-1. This contest says Vlad is outplaying Fasty every game, only getting scammed. That's kind of how Fasty wins. This is both for the center, this is how Fasty plays. How does that sound weird? Knight f3, knight e5, something like that from Fasty. Just this weird line nobody plays, but it's actually pretty decent. It's best of 10.
I mean, that's the thing with these like weird lines. Like, they're always drawable, always black kind of fine position, but it gets always some positional play, if you get what I mean. Like, if you're worse on positional play, you'll still get outplayed. And yeah, get it. Yeah, I usually like these positions. Even if black equalizes, then it's still nice play.
Something that I think is interesting is, so Fasty's approach is he must out chess anyone basically, and like in chess, all lines are drawn, even the best ones. So like if you play standard chess first to a high level, you're really not going to care if it's theoretically drawn as long as you have counterplay.
Yeah, it's a really odd mindset in it. Like in chess, you don't care what the end result is. Just like, oh, this seems funny. Like in a sense, it's you really play also on a feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
that you see that also so in some other variants, also with racing games. Like if you ever looked at the evaluation of racing games, everything is zero,
Yup.
everything. But there are still lines which feel like more active, and in chess you have something similar. Then it's always 0.1 or something, but or
Mm-hmm.
0.2. But yeah, here it's either winning or losing. Yeah. So some people, like especially new people, then just go, what is it? They categorize the moves as bad and good, and don't go always into the positional stuff.
Yeah. So black here is pushing the center pawns. Olakins again on the f file with Fassy's knight on c7.
hmm Yeah, we get this again.
I guess
Fun.
Vlad's gonna need to find a way to stop those annoying knights Fasty has.
It's actually kind of funny. Like in these lines, I already told you that black usually has a space advantage, but now white says no, I have a space advantage.
Yup.
It's kind of funny. You fight space advantage with space advantage.
So black has, if a black moves queen d6, he'll just win on the spot here. So white has to find a way to defend against that. If queen b6, is there a defense against it here? Or am I missing something? He gets the queen. Oh, if queen d6 doesn't work because knight c takes d5. I was looking at knight c3 and not knight c7 taking d5.
Fun position.
This is
Fun
a
position.
complicated position.
Yeah, I mean, the fun thing is that your queen's not actually hanging because you have knight e6 check. It's really funny.
Yup.
At the same time, actually, if you take the queen right now, maybe the f file will open up. You don't know. You don't know. Again, this is a cool position. Yeah, so he indeed goes for this and then say like, oh, f file is open. I don't like d4. Actually, I did just think white
Can't you
goes
just
e4.
take on g6 with a pawn?
G6.
Yeah.
Oh, f6. I mean, that's good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. E4 was bad maybe because you could get queen with 2d6 and then be annoying.
Because
But
even
now
if
you just
queen f6, you have queen f5, and then you're just going to go, or just open everything up right away.
you have a fine position anyway. You have just position. You have just the activity, and the bishop and the knight will be really annoying. And maybe you get also another bishop in f3, 4. Like, white has all your possibilities basically.
Mm-hmm. And now bishop g5 is a threat, bringing the dark square bishop in too.
And that then is winning.
Yep.
If white managed to do that, it's winning. So tries to trade off the white square bishop, which is a good idea. Also prevents bishop g5. So if you don't have both bishops, then there's also always one color that the black king is fine at.
So even if the knight takes, or I guess you have to do the rook takes. If knight takes, you just sack the rook with taking the bishop on f3, and then you bring over your other rook.
That's certainly an idea. Certainly. I mean, it still looks good though. Actually, yeah, never mind. This just still looks good.
Even just knight e8 here should just stop the rook from getting to the f file, and you should still be able to sack the rook on, or just take the
98,
rook.
98 is strong, but also rook takes strong. Just preference, honestly.
Can you do like knight d5 check and then take the bishop on b4?
I think so. I don't see why not. But you can always do that. It's never too late.
And now
Yeah.
you can do it safely.
Yes, now it's a bit more safe, but you can always do it. And this is just winning. I mean, there are
Yeah.
more pieces on the board, so we always promote something. And even the rook bishop thing is still a good advantage. Let's keep that out. So yeah, get into this again. I mean,
Flat
flat
doesn't
is
have the
about
same line.
like this is so classic flat line. Like flat used to play this only in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it just goes for something he's familiar with. But e4 again, they're pretty funny move, but it worked last time. G4 also common to break everything open.
So in I don't know this particular line, but in lines like this, they used to be kind of fairly common in knight f3, knight c3, knight e5 engine lines. You basically say, okay, I'm going to throw everything at your kin side, good luck. And it's surprisingly strong.
It usually works in these positions too. I mean, like what you can see here, like one thing is like, okay, let's trade rooks maybe. Also, the bishop can come in because the widespread bishop of black will probably be traded off against the knight, so then the light squares are
Mm-hmm.
weak. So that one will always get in basically, whatever you do. So this is just always really strong, and that's actually the whole point of G4 is that the bishop just can come in.
Yep.
That's the entire point. And that's what makes it so strong. And if you try to prevent that, there are also other ideas for indeed like getting maybe Queen H5 or something if black doesn't go G6.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's
But
really
again,
interesting, kind of exploiting the pawn immunity to explosions.
mm-hmm.
So you go with knight c3 to block.
I mean, it's a logical way to block because usually you do it with a pawn, but right now the bishop can always get taken if it's annoying. And also the
Yeah.
king will probably castle kingside. So it won't be as annoying if it gets taken on d2 with a tempo or anything.
So something that's actually interesting is how the meta has changed blocking with knight versus blocking with pawn. Like when I first started playing Atomic, almost everyone blocked with the pawn or with the knight because that's what Atomcraft did. And then people started blocking with the pawn because that's what Stockfish did. And now people are like, oh wait, maybe blocking with a knight is also really strong still.
It really depends on the position,
Yeah.
which is stronger. Like if you need a temporal to a beginner player, I would probably say pawn always if you just need advice in one sentence. But that's
Mm-hmm.
usually not a good advice. Usually, if you can get like a positional advantage back for it, then knight is way better. Like there are also lines in knight f3 e3 where black goes f5, and that if he goes bishop b4, that knight c3 is actually way stronger than c3, and
Yep.
then goes for weird stuff with knight a4. It's a thing.
Another
Um,
thing is, in a lot of openings, when you block with c3 instead of knight c3 and stuff like that, you set yourself up for queen b3 later, and that weird diagonal coming into the kin side. I remember that
sure.
Xanify was really good at exploiting that. Also was Cryfire. Like there was one, I think it was at Atomic Shield he was streaming, and he was like farming people, everyone below 2,000, just dying within 10 moves to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was never a trap I myself used, but maybe I should have.
I mean, honestly, like the queen b3 thing happens in a lot of lines.
Yep.
Like knight h3 e4. Here you see it again, knight f3, knight c3, also very often. Actually, where you don't see it really often is knight f3 e3. That's actually quite funny. But also e4, you see it often.
Mm-hmm.
D4, whatever you do, like knight f3, d4 also. Sometimes. Not,
Queen
but yeah,
e7 is insanely strong.
yeah.
So you can just take en passant and then go like,
Um,
if bishop blocks, you have knight d4, or if you're also gonna come in either on c5 or e2. Although he
yeah,
just
probably.
decides to push the pawn.
Yeah, probably. I mean, probably if you do en passant, just bishop e6 is good enough. Indeed. And the pawn that goes free, that can just be blocked with the king, so that's no issue at all.
Yeah.
So this is stronger because you need just maintain position, and And now white is a bit awkward in developing, although the bishop can come in with maybe h3 or something, but it takes time.
Even if they have
Which,
bishop a3, as long as the knight's on c6, bishop a3 will be met with knight b4.
yes, yeah, it's not a trap, but it's more like if you need to develop it, really. But again, it's just slow, and yeah. Knight
No,
b4 is
this is
pretty
annoying.
interesting. Very annoying. Also, really interesting move. Yeah, you go for material, but also just getting pieces in, or go for the king side. Like, there are a lot of possibilities here. A really strong move. Yeah, and now you just try to get the queen in. But still, white has now way too many pieces, though.
Yeah, there's
So,
no immediate win for black, so this should be a win for
this,
white.
ju- this just loses.
Yeah.
So, hey, flat has another win. So we have 4-2?
Yep, 4-2. The last time they played, Fasty won 6-3, and now the current match is 4-2. So Fasty needs 1.5 more match points to win the match, so a win and a draw. And there's 4 games left.
Yeah, it's especially annoying if fast he managed to win another one, because then he'll just keep playing for the draw. Always. Like, will go for the most safe opening ever, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he still wins it. But even if he doesn't, then in worst case you go into tie breaks and still have chances.
Yep.
Although usually after that, if something happens like that, then flat would be on the streak, and usually streaks, like sometimes in chess people play about the trend of a game,
Yep.
and what you sometimes see is that people are like worse, and then actually get into an equal position, but then instead of getting for the draw because you've felt the whole time worse, you should actually play on, because the trend
Yeah.
is in your direction and not the other ones. So if that happens, then flat will be a streak, and you should definitely go for a break, definitely,
Yeah.
because breaks are streak changers.
Yep. You just stop their momentum, reset.
I'm not going to talk about a particular match of mine. I won't mention it.
Yeah, like there was that one V Bunny versus Dan Dan match that went into tie breaks and everything. Like Black was winning every game.
Oh yeah,
And
and then you're like,
just
oh,
cheering
Atomic isn't solved
Fast-tsunami.
yet. Oh, this is such an old line. Like, I've seen also on bands play this a lot. I don't know if the engine, if this is a top engine evaluation, but it's still like in practice. I've played this too. It's really nice to play. Also very straightforward for white.
Yep.
Like
It's a
what you
relatively
usually,
simple plan.
yes, especially like what you usually see here as a plan for black is that they try to go f5 and in the like g4. But there's also not really a space advantage or anything because of bishop b5, which restricts
B6.
everything.
Is
b6
B6
is
a thin?
honestly it looks pretty slow.
I feel like knight
But
c7 check and then d4 and b6's ideas are just refuted on the spot. Or I guess d4 first because you can't even take, because queen takes d7 would be
I,
checkmate.
yeah, again, simple plans. White only goes for simple plans here.
It's like the
So,
most atomic line you could get.
probably, but it's always nice to play as white.
So the idea here is black has bishop a3 and then knight a or knight b4 ideas.
Yeah, indeed, like bishop a3 and b4 is the usual way to play. So some players just go h3, which is like with h3 with these things to prevent the bishop is usually always not the ancient move, but it is a very safe option.
It's basically just stopping their main threat and then saying you're still going to outplay them later. It's not that aggressive. It's kind of passive aggressive almost. The Canadian move.
Yeah, but h4 is that in a sense too, because it prevents f5 shenanigans. Because then queen h4
Mm-hmm.
is a thing. But at the same time, it's also an aggressive move, because you have h5 and the king is awkward. So white looks really, really good here.
So something that I don't know if you dabble with the atomic engines lately, but you know how like multivariant stockfish in particular used to like the passive pawn to the third rank. That has really gone away in the NNUE for atomic. The NNUEs
Oh,
and atomic almost always put their pawns in the fourth rank and just play really aggressively.
I mean, it makes sense. It's the more chessy way to play, and
Mm-hmm.
any new makes an engine more chessy. So
Hello, Lukey Horde. Welcome to the stream. So now h5, you're kind of kicking the knight out of there. Well, you have to do king f1 here. And now the bishop on b5 is pinned. But white still has
yeah,
a lot of play because that knight is basically just repeating what white did with knight c7.
true. Like I mean that the knight will come in was 100% to be expected, but white still has everything to play for, and bishop h3 is an idea, f4 is an idea, e4 is an idea. I mean, actually, probably all three ideas are fine. Although, yeah,
So
but this is probably
f4, you can't
stronger.
even take that really, can you?
No, no, no. You don't open up when someone is attacking. You don't.
Yeah. King g1 is really interesting because it opens up the chance of e4, and then you have threats of bringing your dark bishop in.
Yes, and bishop e8, which you just played. Yeah, when I said it.
I didn't even see bishop g8 or bishop e8. I was looking at like bringing the dark bishop in. That's just insanely annoying in general.
True, but you don't get it in yet. But then it will be annoying later. Oh, Fasti is low on time, so this will be funny. White's better, but low on time. Two pieces can get into the position, so I don't know. Could go either way.
Yep. It's actually a really important game to match because if Vlad wins it, he's in a good spot, and if Fasti wins it, Vlad's in a very bad spot.
I mean, it defines the trend of the match. That's mainly if Fasti wins, then he just goes for draw. If Flat
Mm-hmm.
wins, then clearly the tide of the match has gotten in Flat's favor.
I just bring the
I
bishop
was actually
back.
also thinking of, yeah, I was actually thinking about e5 and maybe take on d6, but I would get away with knight. But yeah, so it's
It's gonna be draw by
but
repetition.
actually e5 would actually probably be very strong because even if it takes away the knight, the bishop would still be on e8, and then you would just get made in the late king. But he didn't do this, of course. Also, don't have enough time, so we just play a simple move,
Mm-hmm.
which is completely logical. Yeah, now block everything. Good
Now
for
white
low
is
time.
way better.
I mean, for sure, for sure. There's still some tricky chances, but white's way better. If he gets rook in or something, then or
Queen
queen, then
e3,
just
it's
over.
good game.
Yeah. All right, so this
No,
is
fast just
clearly
was a
gotten.
draw. Knight f3 94 is going into this again. Why not? He's had great success with it.
Yeah, but this is really annoying because like, what will happen is that there are positions that white has to accept a draw. That's what will happen, and then Vlad always needs to reject it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is really unfavorable.
I wonder if Fast is gonna keep repeating the same defense or if he's gonna change it up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it worked though, but it's a bit boring, but it worked all the other
Yeah.
times. So I mean, it makes sense. Like with matches, they're usually like a bit spammy, so it's sort of part of AWC.
Yep. At least they're not spamming knight f3 e3. I'd rather look at a knight f3 94 position that's actually interesting any day of the week than knight f3 e3. I think Knight of 3 Knight D4 is actually one of the most underrated atomic lines. Its ideas are extremely complex, but people tend to discard it just because it's not evaluated as high by the engine as some other lines. But it's insanely strong. It was always one of the lines I struggled with the most as black.
In the past, actually, I used to struggle with this too. Like the thing is with this opening is that it has a mix between theoretical and positional,
Mm-hmm.
and that divide is actually pretty interesting because like most openings are theoretical. Say two knights, knight of three, e3, also e3, knight of three,
Yep.
and or completely positional, and that's like knight e3.
Yeah.
But this is both, and that makes it kind of tricky.
It's just this weird hybrid that, like, some players are just try to chess it as much as they can using standard chess skill. That's like positional players. Others just want to get you in cheap opening traps, theoretical players. And it's just
Yeah,
this
but
weird hybrid that is kind of just its own thing, basically.
yeah, it's also kind of decent. It's not like just a separate job. It's just a decent opening, which we have you have a bit of an advantage, which you just keep playing on. But
Mm-hmm.
it's also an opening that doesn't really transpose to something else. Like for example, if you go for e4, which is in a way similar in nature, that you just have an advantage the whole way, is that black can steer into something that he knows, even if it's bad. And what I mean
Yeah.
with that is he can try to transpose it into a knight h3 opening, for example.
Yep.
Um, and that's bad for black, theoretically speaking. But like it's different because this is like a completely different thing. And even if you white refuses that, which is hard, but it's possible, then it still has some things that are similar to it. It's not like completely independent. And this is kind of independent.
So what was forced to play f5 there because the threat of e takes f4, that would be check and you can't block it because if you block the bishop e3, I guess you
Uh, you
probably
could
probably bringing
because
the knight d4.
because bishop e3 is possible. Yeah, because the bishop takes d3, he loses. But yeah, knight e4 is pretty strong then. But then the question is whether white can get counterplay or not. Like maybe it
Yeah.
would be able to castle or something, and that will give like a completely different position. But it's still complicated, and you don't want to go this, especially like look at the time difference. Like Fast is 20 seconds under now, and Vlad has more than 2 minutes.
Yep.
So just play stall it. Like Fast-tsunami will crumble to this.
Although now that Fassy's castled, suddenly two rooks and the queen are looking down the f file, which
Mm-hmm.
could be giga annoying.
Yeah, but this is also an annoying move.
Is it
I
defended
mean,
against though?
mm, no.
Uh,
I mean, you could take a bunch of pieces, but mm.
funny is queen a5 and you step to a8.
And then you go bishop check, or R does this, but you can still go bishop check, bishop g2. Um,
Like he's down a knight and a bishop, sure, but he has counterplay, which is
True, but
interesting.
yeah, white should stay active, castle quickly, and yeah, and like if in a couple of moves you'll see whether who breaks through basically. Like if flat now can just castle and be safe, then everything is fine.
Yeah.
And then flat will win. If not, fast will win. But I think flat will get this though.
Oh, bishop takes a7. Oh, you didn't see it.
Guys. But it still wins because it's a
Yeah.
double attack. But come on, guys. This is AWC. Come on, guys.
He hasn't seen the mate in one. Uh,
It still wins, but
hey, imagine getting scammed after hating that.
but
Earl
but
Search is queen b3 is the most annoying move in Atomic. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but this is also the funny part about it. Like Vlad, and I also sometimes notice that about myself. Vlad was in completely positional mode, basically, like
Mm-hmm.
in mode, and then you just say like, okay, if I do this, it works. I know I'm fine, and then you just play for that. And even if, and then you just miss a tactic. It also happened to me, for example, in chess or something. So
Yeah.
it's very human. Let's keep it at that. Um, but it's also that if you like, for example, if flat would be bad, then you would certainly have seen that, like because then
Mm-hmm.
you're unconsciously looking for tactics.
Something that I've kind of noted in this match is Vlad has taken an extremely positional approach, whereas Fasty's taken a more traditional approach that's exploiting tactics. And
Yeah,
it's resulted in an interesting matchup. Because even in the games that Vlad has lost, he had a very good positional setup.
true, true. I mean, also the theory flat users in all those games. I mean, you clearly know like it's just modern theory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's not anything really special, but it's just good modern theory. And yeah, which basically see is like a very positional matchup, but then modern versus traditional.
Yep.
That's what you're looking at.
So knight g4 is going to be met with f4 here. I don't even go in here because if you go knight g4, f4, and you don't even have like knight f2 because you just have the classic queen h5, check, g6, queen h6, and that's mating. So you can't really push knight g4. You can push knight g4, but it's only a one move delay basically. Now the question is, do you leave the knight on c7 or try to go to some knight e6 or knight e8? Knight e8 doesn't go anywhere at this point. Probably just develop. Maybe you guys push g4 or something. Or h3.
A traditional way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most traditional move you could make up. Like G4 would be more modern, but then F5 ideas are a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the part where you used to mention like D3 would probably be the Stockfish engine back then, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. d3 or d4.
D4 is always pretty interesting. Like, in a sense, like D3, you basically admit that you're losing the center, but right now you just say like, nah, I'm not sure about it. Like, you get E5, and that's certainly a threat, but you basically go into the complication and you're saying like, I know this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And you also see H3, like if he takes on D4, you just take the bishop. So yeah, I kind of like to see this setup, honestly.
So he
And I
takes a
mean,
knight on a6 to avoid just getting overwhelmed on the queen side.
yeah, because otherwise, yeah, indeed, in that line, if you would take on b4 the bishop, then you get knight b4, which is annoying. So this is sort of yeah mandatory, or you should take on e5, but then d4 is annoying, and then you have to block it with something like bishop d3. And it's possible, but I would
Yeah.
wait for it. Like it's certainly uncomfortable unless you theorize it. Then you can get away with it. Yeah, castling, pretty solid. Maybe go for
Castling now, you can
f4.
even just start bringing in the knight.
Also, I would just go f4. It's a traditional way, right?
f4 is both a traditional and modern response to this, I think. That's like one move that's taking on b4. You're basically giving up a pawn. So Atomic All Account and Elite Chess Chess is IGH. What if happens at 5-5 or the tie break still 3-2? There's 2 rounds of tie breaks that are 3-2 or 3+2, and there's Armageddon, which can be like its own time control basically.
Yeah, but about the h3 takes bishop, I don't think that was a good move, honestly, because you just want to wait for that. Just play f4
Yeah.
because indeed you get like knight g4, which is a common tactic that you cannot take it because queen h4, and I mean, it's possible to play, but it's, like I cannot put my hand in the fire and say white's better. And in the past,
Yeah.
like if you played f4, I could say put my hand in the fire and say white was better. That's the difference, and especially given what fast he only needs to draw, it's completely strange to me.
Taking on with a taking a bishop with a pawn is basically just a free pawn for black, which makes it, if he manages to escape, it's going to be a lot harder to just draw him.
True, and he also got the quality. I mean, still black's king is awkward. Like black is not per se better, but yeah, you're complicating stuff. That's it. Okay, this was actually I probably a mandatory move because I don't, yeah. So otherwise the f file would be crushing.
This doesn't go anywhere, does it?
Hmm. I don't
Unless
know.
I'm like missing something.
Why not bishop g2 or something?
So actually, can't you just take the rook? No, that doesn't work.
I kind of like bishop g2 because what you do, which basically, yeah, bishop g2, e4 is mandatory. You have to play e4, and if you get queens off, then you just first with your rook. And if he
Mm-hmm.
waits, you have knight e8. Yes, knight e8, and you're first anyway. So this just wins for
Yeah,
white.
this
Yes,
also
and
wins.
also wins, and you got rook f1 wins on the spot. So this is GG, and
Yeah. So now here rook
um,
f1.
I
Even
mean,
if you
you don't
play
have a
rook
two-two. You
h7,
don't
this
have
is gonna be rook
you
f8,
don't
rook
have a two-two
f7
square.
next. Yep.
Um,
So
they
Fast-tsunami has now won the match, although they're playing the last game.
oh yeah, because otherwise you get forfeited.
Yup.
Because oh, that would be so troll. Like Fast would actually win the world championship and then gets forfeited. Um,
Yeah, I'd have to tell them like, hey, you gotta play one more game.
I mean, like I have sympathy for the rule, but like it's still very awkward. Like if someone forgets it, and that's
Yup,
just
like
really
Pash did. Like he won the match.
yeah.
I think it was like 5-1 or just 6-1. I think it was something weird like that. And got forfeited because of the fine print.
Yeah, and yeah, but yeah, like it's a bit too strict. Like I respect the rule, but it's too strict. Like maybe you should find something else. I don't know what would be a good measure, like a good, yeah, like how you could punish someone. But it should be a soft measure because everyone forgets this.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone. I mean, I totally would have seen me forgetting it either in my
Oh
AWC
yeah.
matches. I would totally see myself in bash spot. So
It
yeah,
was kind of unfortunate too because that was basically a loss for Pash. It shouldn't have happened,
I mean for
and
sure.
it resulted in a strong player getting kicked out of the tournament sooner than he should have been.
It was totally not fun. It was also kind of not okay, honestly.
Is knight d4 a thing here? So knight d4, knight takes d5, and you can castle. And
Uh,
I think you're
you
fine.
94 as black.
Yes, knight
I
d4
mean,
is
you'll
black.
probably die because you open up everything. You'll probably die.
Yeah, you had to castle first before being that aggressive.
Yes. I mean, he can still take on d5, but then you save the tempo, you know. And if he doesn't do that, what are his options? Like, I mean, you could go bishop e6, you could go f5, but they also all have their own weak spots. And yeah, now you
Mm-hmm.
have tempo extra compared to the other line, so this is a good thing.
This is
Maybe
really
maybe
interesting.
maybe just go bishop d4. I don't know. Oh,
Bishop d4. That seems like a safe move.
it's a safe move.
Now you have
Uh,
queen c5 check, and you're gonna trade the queens.
you are down the piece though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
So
though, because you just already won the match. Though, do you want to get more rating?
Oh, already won the match. Just resign and move on. I don't care anymore. I quit Atomic. Resign. Just like Onibets did after he won AWC.
uh, honestly, it's like Onyu worked really hard to become the champion, and like, he was at that top level for an insanely long time. It's understandable why he'd quit, but also it's kind of sad that we don't have him anymore because his style was insanely cool.
Yeah,
He was
but I mean,
basically like the NNUEs before the NNUEs were thin, the way he'd use his pawns.
yeah. I mean, that were all the traditional players, though. They just play chess.
Yeah.
But the thing is, honestly, I don't. I think Atomic has a bad retention rate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is that after a while, it just like the force nature brings people, especially people who like, oh, these openings are kind of funny and such. But at a while, it just gets repetitive, and that's the danger.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's also why I sort of semi quit it,
I mean,
or
if
not
I'm
as
being
active.
completely honest with you, that's the reason why I quit it, or why I no longer play Atomic. I just got so sick of playing the same thing 10 times a day. I was like, I could do this in literally any other game, just repeat moves.
Yeah,
Like
but it's
Fasty
also
said,
not.
just play tic
It's
tac toe if you want to do that.
Yeah, it's also not fun. Like especially tournaments, the variants are just awful because you just play against bad players and you just win every time the same time. Like I actually have opening lines for bad players just to win as quickly as possible.
I know. Like, I personally would just play knight c3 and they'd all go c6, and that's just extremely easy to refute against a bad player because they all fall for the hook trap.
Knight c3 is indeed one of the moves, and you often follow up with knight h3, not knight e3, and yeah,
Yup.
you have quick wins. Also, knight h3, knight c3 also gives quick wins usually. They're sort of the same thing, but yeah,
After the
it's not
match is
fun.
over.
Yeah, I mean, this was doubly winning for white anyway.
Yup.
It just had to play that. Black didn't do anything fancy because he couldn't find, yeah, an attack point basically, and
It's
then you just
unfortunate
squeeze
for
down.
Vlad that he didn't find this mat or find this opening like in the first game he had as white, because he won every game that he really played this in as white.
Yeah, yeah, kind of shame. Like yeah, he should have, yeah, sticked with his traditional stuff. Easy to say afterwards, of course, always, but
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
6-4, just getting 4 wins out of 10 games for this fast year is incredibly impressive.
it was a pretty close match, honestly.
Yup.
Um, and I actually would have, I kind of cheered for Vlad because,
Yeah.
because we would get another match.
Yup. If you see 2 good matches between 2 good players, that's always better than 1 good match.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, two is better than one. So,
I
but
kind
it
of
didn't
like
happen.
the Crazy House World Championship format where they play 3 matches of like, I think it's 20 games each. Speaking of which, Katask versus Jasuki 99 is coming up. The Crazy House World Championship finals.
Oh yeah.
But instead of us having like this best of 10, they have like 60 games in total, I think.
Oh, 60, really? Wow. I
Yup.
mean,
And like it's
I know anti had 30, and I was like, whoa, wow, that's a lot. And now Crazy House is 60. I mean, Crazy House is also kind of fun to watch. Like, in a sense, like, they also have round robins and such. And like, as a player, I would love a round robin in whatever variant I'm playing.
yup.
Um, as an organizer, you would hate round robins
Oh
because
yeah.
you're basically organizing things for a very long time, and yeah, and if someone goes down, then it's not fun at all.
I would kind of like to see a round robin for the final 8 in Atomic one of these days.
True, true.
But at
I
the
kind
same time,
I
I
also kind
don't
of
want to
feel like
organize it.
yeah, I also kind of feel like the chance of getting that depends on how mature the community is, and given all the variant communities, Crazy House is the most mature.
Yep.
And how less mature a community will be or less cohesive, yeah. But especially maturity is the most important, more important than cohesive. And you do like if you have in Atomic, there are people that just didn't schedule stuff. But I know also because as an organizer from the Racing Kings, we see there are a lot of people that just didn't schedule, and then it's just not fun. And
Yeah.
then I'm just like I'm not going to organize. But if everyone is mature and does it on his own, then it's really fun. And I would say like let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get some great games in. And I mean, as a player, I would also love to play in it. Honestly.
Yeah. It's either really good or really, really bad. I
For
think that they
sure.
once tried this round robin atomic tournament back on either Fix or ICC, and over half the matches weren't played, and the atomic community never touched round robin again.
Oh yeah, they did it one time. I mean, yeah, it's a shame, honestly, because they are really. I mean, they're interesting to play, but also interesting to watch.
Yup. You kind of see all the styles up against each other, and if one player loses one match, it's not like they're out of the tournament. They still get to play everyone else, and they can still come back even.
Yeah, yes, especially it's really fun, and also some things depend on each other. Like if one person has spammed a line in a match, then he might be like, should I do it again or not? So what you basically get to see is not an opening spam, which you
Mm-hmm.
get, what you also see this year. It's sort of an opening spam, but what you really get to see is styles against each other. And that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
And another thing is round robin does is he just like tell them to play 10 games or something, and that solves the pash situation because nobody's gonna leave after say 7.
True, true. I mean, honestly, the only reason I didn't had that issue for me was because I always am like, oh, let's play more games. It's fun. Like I know, like I played some more games against, for example, Vascular or some other match, and there are also some people like, yeah, and that's who just wants rating points. I'm like, well, no, that's not the reason. I just want to get a bit more games. And I think it's fun, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they are like I acknowledge actually those opponents, and I think they're strong players, and I want to play more with them. That was the reason, and I also because I was rusty, I needed to do it anyway. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Get your practice in when you can.
yeah, but maybe it's also possible to get if players would be up for it, maybe to get like some sort of a league, but that's more of a sort of friend thing, if you get what I mean. Like less
Mm-hmm.
official. It's not for the title per se, although people try to win it. But yeah, a couple of players that just do a round robin on their own would be fun to watch. I don't and
That
like also if it's like a friend thing, it's people are more keen to actually schedule stuff, and also people are not like I need to get the batch time for my match because otherwise they will get kicked out. You don't have that either.
mm-hmm. It's kind of play when both of you are on, and that's good.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. Are we closing down the stream?
Yeah, I'll probably close down the stream right now. I
Well,
need to
fun.
try to get Fasty to do an exhibition match soon of the world champion taking challenges or something.
Okay, I mean, I would love to challenge him right now because I'm flying.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. I suppose I'll probably put this or download this video and send it to Natsu to put on YouTube again.
Sure, let's do it.
Actually, I think that you can download the video yourself because you're editor. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the match. Fast-tsunami is a 2021 Atomic Chess World Champion. He won 6-4.